Hey everyone, welcome back. So I hope everyone had a great weekend. It was actually nice around where I live, so kind of spent it outside. But Monday again, and the markets were down today. Markets, Bitcoin, Ethereum are all down. We'll take a look at those, see what's going on there. We'll also take a look at Bitcoin miners. A couple of them have actually reached their new 52-week lows. We'll take a look at that. And some bad news, 13% difficulty increase this past, I think it was either today or yesterday that we reached it. So what does it mean for the miners? We'll take a look at what it meant before the increase, what the miners were generating for revenue for possibly October. And then we'll look at the numbers after the difficulty increase and what that actually means for them. So as always, you guys know the drill here. I'm investing in following coins and companies. Full disclosure, not financial advice. And let's get into it. If you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. All right, so let's take a look at the markets. Markets were down. NASDAQ was down 1.04%. Dow Jones was down 0.32%, and the S&P was down 0.75%. So not a good day in the markets. It's a continuation of what we had last week. We also have the CPI data coming out this week. That is also going to be interesting to find out what that is. That could obviously have a big impact on the markets. If it's CPI is dropping, and it's dropping pretty good, that might be a good sign. If it drops less than expected, that's going to be a bad sign. Markets are going to fall even more. Okay, so let's take a look at Bitcoin here really quick. Bitcoin right now on the daily chart is starting to look possibly a little bullish, at least from what I'm seeing here, at least on the RSI right now. So RSI is at 43 right now. Bitcoin's at 19,125. I did see my last video, which I think was on Saturday. I said, looking at the chart, it looks like Bitcoin's probably going to be falling down to around 19,000. We did reach pretty close to that today. I said it could even go lower. On the daily chart, though, it is looking just on the RSI. RSI is at 42 right now. Last time we were at 42, 43, right around here was back on October 2nd. And the price is actually higher now than it was back then. So obviously we still have a couple hours to go before the day is over with. But if we finish out this way, it's actually starting to point a nice direction in upwards, possibly. But we still have obviously some interim, short-term bearish signs that are pointing to that as well. So if we look at the 4-hour chart here, we can see that the RSI is below our 30 line, which is obviously showing that we're oversold on the 4-hour chart. We're at 28 roughly right now. Last time we were here was back on September 19th. Obviously, price was much, much lower than where it is right now. It was at 18,458 roughly. We are obviously at 19,126 right now. So that is a good sign. So it seems like we might be getting higher lows right now, which is a good sign. However, in the interim, like I said, short term, it's still not looking too good. On the 1-hour chart, we can see here that the price has continued to fall down, while the RSI has been kind of flat here for the most part. If you look at it, just back at the kind of valleys here. So it's obviously come down a little bit, but the price obviously continued to fall from here while the RSI went up. So that's not a good sign. So like I said, it's still looking like we possibly are going to be falling for the next couple of days at least, if it holds true. And we possibly might go down to the 18,750 line, 18,500 line. And then we'll see what the CPI data comes out as this week. And that will obviously be telling going forward as far as what's going to be happening there. But we'll have to see, obviously. So Ethereum was also down today, 2.38% to 1,292. It did go down to a low of, let's see here on the daily. On the daily, it went down to a low of 1,288. And we can see here that the price has been kind of, if we look far enough back, it's been kind of flat here. It's been going up and down, while the RSI has also been going up a little bit here. So it's not looking too good on the Ethereum as well. And here you can see as well on the RSI. RSI is at 33 on the 1-hour chart. Last time we were here was possibly right around here. And the price was higher on the 1-hour chart too. Looking at the 4-hour chart, we can see that we are oversold here on the 4-hour chart as well. And then last time we were this low was back here on the 21st of September. Price was lower, price is higher now. So that's kind of a good sign there a little bit as well. So a couple more days, I think, of a bearish trading. Depending on what the CPI data looks like, we may finally turn a little bit bullish, but we'll have to see. Okay. Now, the following companies here that we look at, Annie, Argo, and Bitfarms, along with CleanSpark, I believe, reached their new 52-week lows today. So they're getting hammered some more. And just like all the miners are getting hammered right now. So Annie was actually down today quite a bit. It was down, it's showing me 1.18%, but it was down like 19% today again. I believe if we look over here, Let's take a look at the stocks. I just changed over to the chart from the other one, but I believe it was down quite a bit today. So Annie right now is down 1.18% to 42 cents. Argo was down 19.67%. So Argo is the one that was down, not Annie. So they were down quite a bit today, and it's just a continuation from last week that we saw in them. Obviously, they reported that they are diluting more shares, selling miners. Not a good sign. Investors are panicking, and they're basically selling out right now. BitDigital was down 7.63% to $1.09. Bitfarms was down 4.9% to 97 cents. CleanSpark was down 3.64% to $2.91. Cores was down 3% to $1.29. DigiHost was actually up 0.95% to 74 cents. DMG was down 1.41% to 19 cents, 19.5. Greenidge was down quite a bit, 24.14% to $1.32. Hive was down 7.18% to $3.49. Hut was down 4.21% to $1.82. Iris Energy was down 3.77% to $3.57. Luxfolio was flat at 6 cents. Marathon was down 4.01% to $10.76. Mawson was actually up 2.86% to 46. Riot was down 2.67 to $6.39. Soluna was down 4.57% to $1.67. And Stronghold was down 6.5% to 96 cents. So we're obviously seeing continuation of prices coming down. It's looking kind of at a possibly good time to dollar cost average in, if you haven't already. I've dollar costed average in last week, so I'm waiting for the dip to happen to be of a more substantial dip, another maybe 5-10% before I start looking to possibly buy more in, but we'll see. All right, so that's market, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the miners. And let's take a look at our first story here that we have. So obviously the difficulty is a big thing that has obviously an impact on the miners. As difficulty goes up, the miners generate less revenue. So here's the story. Bitcoin mining difficulty surges to all-time high, putting additional squeeze on miners. So the latest difficulty adjustment is in. It now requires 35.6 trillion hashes to mine one Bitcoin, whopping 13.55% from previous measures. So that's obviously not good. The current network hash rate is about 257 million terahashes per second, a significant rise from its time last year when it was around 140 million. And I actually did a video back in January. I just looked at it today. That was kind of like my bear case, my bull case, and just a regular prediction for the miners. In my regular prediction, I had the hash rate up 50% for the year. Towards the end, it looks like that's where we're going to be at by the end of the year possibly. So that looks like it's going to be right on. Pricing, I was off on the bear case. I was, we'll take a look at it here, but I was off on that, but I was at least somewhat accurate on the hash rate. So rising difficulty paints an even drearier picture for Bitcoin miners who already are feeling the squeeze of weak Bitcoin prices and higher energy costs. Obviously, Argo is one of them, right? They talked about it last week. The CEO, Peter Wall, said our profitability has been squeezed from both sides, from higher energy prices to lower Bitcoin price, which resulted in a cash crunch for Argo. And we obviously covered that last week. And obviously Bitcoin going down to 19,000 right now is not a good sign either. So we'll take a look at the numbers here shortly. But here's what the video that I had. This was back in January 11th. So this was my 2022 bear market prediction. I had Bitcoin being down to 25,000 basically in the fourth quarter. We've obviously gone lower than that. We're down 90 to 19,000. We've pretty much stayed at 19,000 and 20,000 since probably around July, June time area. So we've been kind of floating in that price range for a while here. I had it coming down in price from 45,000 down 15% every quarter basically for the year in my bear case. I did have my average hash rate increasing by, I believe it was 15% also, 15 or 20% each quarter. So we started out quite lower here on the hash rate. And then by the end of the year, we're going to be at possibly 300 million terahashes per second, if that's the case, if it works out. I mean, right now we're in October, we're already at 260. So it looks like we possibly will get to 290 to almost 300 million by the end of the year. So that is unfortunate. But it is what it is. We talked about it back then. One of the possibilities was obviously the hash rate going up 50% from last year. and it looks like it's going to play out that way. All right, so let's take a look at what it actually means for the miners. So here's what I did. As you all know, the spreadsheet that I have basically tracks the Bitcoin price, tracks the hash rate, beginning of the month, end of the month, and then we use the average hash rate to calculate how much the miners could possibly make. Along with the BTC price, we're using now the average hash rate or the average price of Bitcoin for the month. We started doing that in August and September. We're going to continue doing that to see if we can get maybe more accurate numbers as far as what the companies actually report and how close I was able to get to them. So that's what we're doing there. And the way I did this was I basically, for October, I used the beginning hash rate to 234 million, put in the end hash rate the same 234 million. Then I went through all the miners. And for October, down towards the bottom, I actually put down what they would possibly make with the hash rate just being at 234 million. But obviously now with the increase, I increased it to about 260 million right now. It may go up even more by the time we're done with October. So this is just a snapshot of what things might possibly look like. And so we'll just go through all the miners here really quick so you guys can kind of see how much of an impact it actually has on the profitability. So prior to the increase, Argo was looking to make about 5.8 million. Now they're about 5.5 million. So that's a 300,000 decrease in revenue. Based on that, it's about 5%. It's pretty much 5% for all of these right now. Even though we had a 13% increase, the average hash rate, right? You're mining at the beginning of the month, it's lower. Towards the end of the month, it gets higher. We're using that average hash rate to get an average, basically, price also. So that's Argo. BitDigital was going to be at 2.5 million. Afterwards, they're about 2.4, so about 130,000 less. Bitfarms was going to be at 9.8. Now they're going to be at 3.2, so about 520,000 less for them, which is substantial. Obviously, that's a huge amount. That obviously pays quite a lot of payroll. So that's obviously going to put a pain on them and everybody else. CleanSpark was at 9.7 million, possibly. Now they're going to be at 9.2, so another 500,000 less for them also. 510,000 less roughly. Core Scientific, big one here, obviously is going to be at 30 million, 30.4 million. Now they're going to be down to 28.8. So that's what, 1.6 million, I believe. If my math is correct on there. Not 1.6, let's see here. To get 1.2, 1.6 million roughly less in revenue. That's huge for them. They have a lot of debt to pay off. That could really come in handy for them. So that's not good for them. It's not good for anybody. DigiHost was going to be at 1.3, 1.4 roughly. So they're down about 75,000 or so for DigiHost. Then we have DMG. DMG was going to be at 2.08. Now they're at 1.992, so about 90,000 or so, down from where they were going to be. GreenEdge was going to be at 5.6. Now they're at 5.3, so about 300,000 less for them. Hive, we still don't know. We're still waiting on the report from them from their September numbers, but this is just an estimate. If they stayed the same in September with their ASIC miners, this is kind of where they would be. So they were looking to be about 5.38. Now they're about 5.1. So that's also, what is that? 20-some thousand, 280,000 basically, almost 290,000 less in revenue. Hut 8 was going to be at 7.19, so roughly 7.2. They're going to be at 6.8, so about $400,000 less for Iris, for Hut. Iris Energy was going to be at 8.8. They're going to now be at 8.3 roughly, so about 500,000, 450, 460,000 less for them. Then Marathon was looking to be about 13.3 million. Now we're looking to be about 12.6. So that's a decrease of almost $900,000 less for them. They're also kind of a little bit less of a debt situation than Core is, but they do have a lot of debt. So that's obviously not going to be good for them either. And then finally we got Mawson here. Mawson was going to be at 3.9, almost 4. They're going to be down about $250,000. Riot was going to be at 13.1. Given that they were mining for the whole month, obviously we know they've been doing all that curtailment lately. So I don't know if they're going to get anywhere near that, but we'll see. But that brought them down to 12.4. So that's almost $700,000 less in revenue for them. And then we got Soluna. Soluna was going to be at 1.4. They're down to 1.36. So that's 70,000 less or so, 80,000 less for them. And then finally, we got Sphere 3D was going to be at 234,000. Now they're looking to be about 221,000. So that's a decrease of about 13,000 for them. Plus, if they install any miners, which they're supposed to. So you can see here that it's obviously had a pretty big impact on them. Anytime we get a difficulty increase, hash rate increase, it obviously puts more strain on the miners. We've obviously seen electricity prices going up as well. So unless they can install miners faster or at least match the difficulty increase with increases in their hash rate, they're going to be losing money or making less money. They're not going to be losing money, but they're going to be making less money. Otherwise, if they install more, they're actually going to possibly make more, a little bit more, not that much more. But this is going to be a trend that's going to continue on probably here throughout the rest of the year until all these miners pretty much get to where they want to be. Like Marathon wants to be at 23 exahash. They still have a long ways to go. CleanSpark wants to get to 22. They have a long ways to go. So we still have a lot of miners obviously installing a lot of exahash. And that's just going to continue on here until we get to that point. At that point, possibly we'll then have a break where things are kind of equal for a while. Things stabilize a little bit. But right now, as miners are being installed, it's not going to be good for them. It's not going to be good for anybody. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on this. Obviously, see how this affects the miners as far as revenue is concerned. And I'll keep you guys updated when things obviously happen here. And then when we do the updates for the October performance, we'll obviously see how that actually affected them completely. All right, next story. So we're talking about, obviously, the CPI data coming out this week. One analyst or a couple of analysts actually think this might be a good thing. So Bitcoin price is poised for a very big move as CPI due to spark volatility. Kind of a strange wording here on the title. So BTC price action may stay cool until October 12th, one analyst argues, as historical volatility indicator prints a rare warning signal. So here's what they're talking about. Bitcoin, let me see, Wall Street open as trader predicted it would take until October 12th for volatility to start impacting price. So we still obviously have a couple of days here. We got basically tomorrow and Wednesday before we start seeing some more volatility. So a guaranteed recipe for massive volatility. Data from Cointelegraph, obviously showing the Bitcoin price right now at 19,300. Let's see here. The pair had stayed rigidly in narrow corridor over the weekend with only one test of 19,000 punctuating otherwise flat conditions. And we talked about this on Saturday. I said it might come down to 19,000 and it did. With the week tipped to provide serious fuel for potential volatility breakout, Michael Van De Pope, founder and CEO of trading firm 8, suggested that traders may get another 48 hours grace. Most likely markets will remain unchanged until we get all the economic data in on Wednesday and Thursday. He summarized on the day. Van De Pope nonetheless reiterated that when it comes, the move on Bitcoin should be very big. He referenced the Bitcoin Historical Volatility Index, the BVOL, currently at rare lows seen only a handful of times before. Historically, that's a guaranteed recipe for massive volatility, he wrote in a part of an explanatory tweet. On October 13 was analysts' overall red letter day of the week. Meanwhile, with the consumer price index print for September due in the United States, U.S. equities were broadly quiet at the time of writing. S&P was down. Continuing on with on-chain analytics, resources material indicators said the macro data would spark knock-on moves for both volatility and market participation. So we'll have to obviously see what happens later on this week. But like I said, this might be a good thing, depending on how the data comes in. If we get good data on Wednesday from CPI and it's below analysts' expectations, that it's obviously fallen lower than they thought, that's going to be a good catalyst for us to go up in price. If it's higher than analysts expected, no, it's going to be anybody's guess, but I'm guessing it's probably going to go down more. And at that time, we're probably going to be toying with the 18,000 mark, maybe going back down to 17,500, possibly as a retrace. And then from there, we'll see if we can stay above that. That's kind of our low spot this year. So that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe. We'll see obviously what happens later on this week. Spreadsheets available to my Patreon members. As always, thank you to everyone there for their continued support. Love you all. Have a great night. I'll see you guys in the next one.